Reddit users share stories that sound fake, until something like this happens to you. A couple of months ago, I started noticing my signal dropping at night. At first, I thought it was just my phone glitching. Videos would freeze, Wi-Fi would cut out for a second or two, then come back. But it only happened in my bedroom, and always after midnight. I checked the router, swapped my SIM card, even reset the network from scratch. Nothing worked. Then I realized the glitch hit at almost the exact same time, around 2:17 a.m. The connection would freeze, my screen would go black, like everything shut off for a minute. One night, I set up a screen recording and went to bed with my phone in hand. When I woke up, it had caught everything. At 2:17, the screen went dark. Then, for a split second, an image flashed. It looked like a freeze frame, like someone paused a video. It was a hallway, not mine. The next day, I scrubbed through the video frame by frame. It was blurry, but at the end of the hallway, someone was standing, motionless, just a figure in the shadows. After that, the glitches started happening earlier. 2:13, then 2:09. Every night, a couple of minutes earlier. Last week, it hit at 1:56. When the screen came back, there was a new photo in my gallery. My hallway. Shot from low down, like from the floor. I live alone. And my apartment door was slightly ajar. Last fall, I went camping with Josh and Hannah. We picked an old site by a creek in a national park, a half-hour hike from the parking lot. No cell service, no other camps nearby. We just wanted to unplug, sit by a fire. Josh and Hannah were a couple. I slept alone in my own tent. I woke up first in the morning. The fire was out, everything quiet. Their tent was still up, zipper closed. I called out, no answer. I opened it. Everything was there, sleeping bags, boots, a flask, their phones. But no Josh. No Hannah. I figured they'd gone to the creek, but the trail was dry. No footprints. Not toward the water, not into the woods. It was like they'd vanished. I circled the camp. 100 yards out, I found their thermos on a rock. Nearby in the grass, Hannah's pendant, snapped in half. I packed up and hiked back to my car. 2 hours later, I was with the Rangers. They searched the area, brought dogs, a drone. Nothing. No scent, no trace. A day later, the police came. I was the main suspect. Obviously, I was the only one left. They questioned me 3 times, searched my bag, my car. They found Hannah's bracelet in a side pocket. I don't remember it being there. No signs of violence, no struggle. Their phones hadn't been used since that night. The last activity was a photo of the campfire taken at 12:12 a.m. No one knows who took it. I went back a week later to grab the rest of our stuff. Under their tent, beneath the ground cloth, I found a strange cut in the dirt, a triangular flap. Below it, just packed earth. No signs of digging, just clean, hard ground. The case is still open. Sometimes they call with a few more questions. I don't go into the woods anymore. Sometimes, as I'm falling asleep, I hear a zipper slowly opening. Too close. After my grandma passed, I stayed at my mom's for a few days to help sort through her things. The house was old, single-story, with big windows and heavy furniture. It smelled like lavender and old paper. That evening, after the funeral, my 6-year-old niece said calmly, "Grandma waved at me from the window while I was drawing." I froze, but didn't say anything. Kids mix things up, right? Grandma's chair sat by the living room window. I noticed the cushion was slightly dented. On the armrest, a faint smudge, like fingers gripping to stand up. Mom said she hadn't sat there. No one had. And the room smelled sharper, like someone had just walked through. The next day, I was looking through video call recordings for photos to use in a memorial album. In one old file, I saw something in the window's reflection behind Grandma. A silhouette. Barely visible, but definitely not her. I showed Mom. She didn't say a word, just turned off the screen. That evening we moved the chair to the basement. No discussion. Before I left, I saw my niece's drawing on the fridge. A simple scene. A girl, a house, and a woman at the window. The woman had no face. When I first moved to Seattle, I rented a cheap studio in a 1940s building. First floor, thin walls, creaky wood floors. It felt old but fine. The first couple of weeks were quiet. Then, the knocking started. Every night, around 2:15, 3 heavy thumps from under the floor. Not pipes or radiators, like a fist or something wooden. I thought it might be neighbors, but there's only a locked basement below me. I set up a recorder. It caught silence, then 3 clear bangs, a pause, 2 more, then 1, like a signal. One night, I decided to respond. I knocked once on the floor with my fist. 3 knocks came back, faster, louder, closer. The next morning, I found a splinter sticking straight up by my bed. I pulled it out, and a thin crack appeared in the wood. I told the landlord. He said the basement's been unused for years. No key. I asked what used to be down there. He hesitated, then said, "Don't go down there. Just keep the floors clean and don't knock." I got a rug, pressed it tight to the boards. The knocking still comes sometimes, always at the same time. And now, I wake up to find myself knocking on the floor, in my sleep. When my Aunt Ellie died, I inherited a few of her things, some books, a jewelry box, and a huge mirror in a wooden frame. I didn't pick them. I just took what my mom didn't want to keep. I put the mirror in my hallway by the bedroom. It's old, with darkened edges and a slight warp in the reflection. Figured I'd sell it later. But a couple of weeks in, weird stuff started happening. A few times, I woke up feeling like someone was standing in the hallway. No sound, just a presence. One night, I caught a reflection, like someone walked behind me. I turned around. Nothing. The light was off, but something in the mirror shifted, barely noticeable, like a shadow. The next morning, the mirror was fogged up. The room was cold, no water running. There was a long smudge on the glass, like a hand had slid across it. I wiped it off. It came back the next day, same spot. My mom later told me Aunt Ellie didn't like that mirror. Said there was something in it. Wanted to get rid of it but never did. I tried moving it to storage, but I couldn't get it off the wall, like it got heavier. The bolts unscrewed, but it wouldn't budge. Now I cover it with a cloth at night. I try not to look at my reflection when I pass by. But sometimes, in the morning, the cloth's on the floor, folded neatly.
My freshman year, I got a shared room in an old campus dorm. The building looked like a 60s motel. Narrow halls, carpeted walls, a sour, dusty smell. My roommate Jeremy was quiet. Barely spoke, always wore the same hoodie, and constantly sketched in a tattered notebook. He didn't seem dangerous, just odd. Things were fine at first. But a couple of weeks in, I started waking up at night. No noise, just a feeling that someone was standing nearby. Once or twice, I caught Jeremy standing by the window, staring at the glass, even though it was covered by curtains. One night I woke up, and he was standing by my bed. Not moving. Just staring. When I asked what he was doing, he seemed confused. Said, "You used to be different," and went back to his bed. The next morning, I peeked at his notebook. Every page was covered with drawings of my face, over and over. But the eyes were always scribbled out. And around each head, the same strange pattern. I reported it to the housing office, showed them the sketches. They moved me out. A few days later, Jeremy was gone. No stuff, no notice, just an empty room. Recently, I found a piece of paper under my old bed. No name, just another drawing. My face, the eyes cut out. When my grandma died, I helped clear out her house. She left some furniture, mostly living room stuff, a few boxes of papers, and a big floor mirror. Antique, dark frame. It was in the spare room where she kept books and old photo albums. My mom didn't want it, so I took it. Set it up in my bedroom, across from the window. Everything was fine for a couple of weeks. Then I started noticing things. In the evenings, passing by, the reflection didn't quite match the room. Different lighting, a slightly off angle, like a photo taken earlier. One morning I saw a handprint on the mirror. Clear, like someone pressed from the inside. I wiped it off. It was back the next day, a little higher. I asked my mom why Grandma kept the mirror in that room. She said Grandma barely touched it in her last years, slept on the other side of the house. Said it made noises at night, Mom added. I laughed, then realized she wasn't joking. Sometimes I wake up and see the mirror trembling, like someone brushed past it. I decided to move it to the attic, but every time I plan to, I forget. And it's only when I'm climbing into bed that I remember. The mirror's still there, right across from me. My mom recently sent me an old photo album she found in the garage. Kid pictures, school plays, beach trips. I hadn't looked at it in years, just flipped through it before bed for kicks. One photo stopped me. I'm about 10, at a picnic. I'm with my neighbor Daniel, who's holding a plate of watermelon. To my left, someone's sitting. You can see their arm, their shirt, even their shadow on the ground. But no face, just a blank spot. Not blurred, not overexposed, like the face was erased, but the rest was left. I snapped a picture of it with my phone to send to my mom. But the camera wouldn't focus, only on that photo. On the screen, the blank spot seemed to shift, like it was sliding sideways as I watched. I showed it to a friend who works in printing. She said the album shows no signs of editing, original paper, 90s film. My mom says she doesn't remember that photo, says, "There were only 2 of you at that picnic." I show her the picture. She goes quiet, then says, "You weren't there with Daniel." I checked every other photo from that day. Only one shows that figure, or whatever should have been a face. Now I can't remember who was there, and I know I should.
I live in an apartment building, tight complex, windows facing each other, close enough to almost touch. The guy across from me, 30s maybe, lives alone. Never got his name. We don't talk. At first, I noticed he gets up around the same time as me. Not weird. Lots of people are up at 7. But then I realized he's doing exactly what I do, almost to the letter. I step onto my balcony. He steps onto his. I set my mug on the railing. He does the same. I check my watch. He lifts his arm the same way. I tested it. One Sunday, I stayed in my robe until 2 p.m. on purpose. He did too. Same color robe. Next morning, I changed my routine. Skipped the balcony, just watched through a gap in the blinds. He stood out there, waiting, then left. I started logging it in a notebook, a simple experiment. 5 weeks in, I wrote, "Tomorrow, I won't go out at all." The next morning, he didn't either, but he left a paper on his railing, a white sheet with my note copied on it. Same handwriting, same words. I didn't write it by hand. I typed it.
Last month, I was running late for work and hopped on a bus that wasn't my usual. Same number, 53E, but the route was slightly off. I figured they'd tweaked the schedule. No big deal. The bus was quiet. Barely any passengers. Everyone sat stiff, silent, not even scrolling their phones. One guy up front held a newspaper. No headlines, just photos and blank columns. I tried to get a signal. Nothing. My phone just said, "Searching." The windows were foggy. The streets outside looked familiar. Same houses, same intersections, but off. Washed out colors, signs with no text, like a rough draft of my neighborhood. I hit the stop button at my usual spot. The bus didn't slow down, just kept going, and no one reacted. I stood up and said loudly, "Can I get off here?" The newspaper guy turned, looked at me like he was shocked I spoke, didn't answer. A minute later, the bus jerked to a stop. Doors opened. I stepped off. The stop looked like mine, but the sign was wrong. Instead of Central Avenue, it read Centra I Avenue. The last L was a capital I. I didn't notice at first, not until I was walking. The houses were where they should be, but the windows were dark, even in daylight. I turned a corner and, boom, normal street. Noise, cars, people, like nothing happened. I don't run late anymore. I double-checked the bus number, but a few days ago, that same 53E pulled up. Now the stop sign reads Center I Avenue, still with that I. I rented a storage unit near my place in Chicago while moving. Standard concrete box, padlock, no cameras inside. Unit 53. A couple of times when I stopped by, my boxes were rearranged. Not opened, not stolen, just moved. Once, the lock was turned the wrong way from how I left it. I emailed the manager. He said no one else has access, not even him. Offered to swap the lock. The next week, I went to grab a box of books. Among my stuff was a white envelope. Inside, a black and white photo. My storage unit, from the outside. Looked like it was shot on an old camera. The door in the photo was cracked open. In the shadows behind it, someone standing. Just part of a silhouette. Wearing my cap, the one I couldn't find the week before. I showed the manager. He went quiet, then said, Unit 53 was already in the system. Under a different name. We thought it was a glitch, so we gave it to you. Want me to move you to another? I said no. Just went back 2 days later, cleared everything out. Couldn't find the box of books. But on the inside of the door, in marker, someone had written, You left something. I'm living in my parents' house since they moved out of state. It's old, from the 70s, but I know it like the back of my hand. Every creak, every corner. A couple of weeks in, I decided to clear out some boxes from the closet under the stairs. There's always been a tiny triangular nook there. We used to hide in it as kids. But when I opened the door, it was just a rectangular cabinet. Smooth walls, no depth, no angle, just a box. I thought maybe the ceiling collapsed, but the walls looked untouched. I called my dad, asked, You remember the closet under the stairs? He said, Yeah, the narrow triangular one. I kept the vacuum there. I told him what I saw. He went quiet, then said, That's not possible. The ventilation ran through there. We boarded it up together. The next morning, I measured the wall from the outside. It was 7 inches shorter than the house plans. I checked the old blueprints. Everything matched. Reality didn't. That night, I opened the closet again. On the back wall, a faint mark, like a handprint, right at eye level, like someone pressed from the other side. I ran my finger along it. The air felt quieter there, like a void. I knocked. No echo, just swallowed. I shut the door. Haven't checked since. But now, when I walk up the stairs, I swear the wall breathes, barely, in time with my steps. When I was a kid, we lived in an old house with a beat-up bathroom. Everything in there felt off. Crooked shelves, cracked tiles, and a mirror that reflected just a little too dark. I was about 8. I'd wake up at night to use the bathroom. Every time, it was the same. I'd flick on the light, step to the sink, and in the mirror I'd catch something. Like someone had just turned away. A flicker of movement. At first, I thought it was my mom. Then I realized the motion was only in the reflection. The room itself was empty. A few times, I noticed condensation on the glass, even though no one had showered. Once, the mirror was fogged up right in the center, like someone had breathed on it. I wiped it with my finger and saw another print next to mine, right at neck level. I never told my parents. One day, I came home from school and the mirror was gone, just leaning against the wall. My mom said it was acting strange. She didn't elaborate. We moved a couple of years later. I forgot about it. But recently, I was digging through old photos and found one from that bathroom. Taken with a flash, the mirror's partially visible. If you zoom in, there's something pale in it, like a face. No clear features. I showed it to my sister. She said she always showered with the door open back then. I kept thinking something was moving in the mirror, she said. I threw the photo out. But that feeling, like someone's watching me from a reflection, it's back. Last summer, I was driving a back road between two small towns in Oregon. It was so hot the asphalt looked liquid. I pulled over to stretch and grab some water. To my right was an open field. No buildings, no farms, no towers. Just dry grass. And in the middle of it, a ladder. Just standing there, upright, like it was floating. A plain wooden ladder, maybe 20 feet tall. No cables, no poles nearby. I got out of the car. Thought I'd snap a photo. It seemed weirdly funny. But the closer I got, the colder the air felt. Strange for 90-degree heat. At the base, a single barefoot print, like someone had stood there looking up. I felt sick, almost collapsed. I didn't touch the ladder. I circled around to see if it was anchored. But from the back, it wasn't there. Face it straight on, it's visible. Step to the side, it's gone. No shadow, no shape. I tried to take a picture. Nothing showed up. Just the field. When I got back to my car, my nose was bleeding. My head pounded, like from pressure. In the rearview mirror, the ladder was gone. I walked back. The field was empty. The next day, I checked my photos. In one, at the bottom corner, there's a faint white edge, like part of something wooden. I didn't delete it, just buried it in a folder. Now, when I drive that road, I catch myself slowing down. I glance at the field. The ladder's never there. But sometimes in my rearview mirror, I swear I see it standing. A few years ago, I rented an apartment on the 9th floor of an old building. Decent place. Creaky elevator, long hallway, the usual smell of dust and fried food from the vents. Barely any furniture, just a bed, a dresser, and blinds that never fully closed. The neighbors were loud, but things usually quieted down after 2 a.m. Almost every night at 3:14, I'd wake up. No noise, no reason. I just open my eyes and stare at the ceiling. Then I started hearing it. A faint, quick knock, 3 taps, a pause, then 2 more. Not from the door, from the window. I told myself it was the wind or old pipes. But one night I couldn't take it. I got up, walked over, and pulled the blinds. There were marks on the glass. From the inside, 5 prints. Long, unnaturally stretched. I wiped them off. By morning they were back, slightly shifted. A couple of days later, while changing my sheets, I found something under my pillow. A metal disc, like a pendant, with an eye scratched into it. I don't wear jewelry. No idea where it came from. I hung it on the window handle. The knocking stopped. But every morning the pendant slightly turned, like someone touched it. The old lady across the hall said to me once, "Don't open the blinds if you wake up at night, even if it feels like someone's calling you." I didn't ask why. I have one memory I can't prove or shake. I was about 6. We were out in nature somewhere, early spring, chilly. I was standing by water on a cliff or a bank. The water was murky, fast. Then I remember falling in. The water hits my face. Everything goes quiet. I feel something, or someone grabbing my wrist, pulling me. Not up, sideways. It only comes back in dreams, but always with the same details. I asked my parents. They said I never drowned. We lived in New Mexico back then. No rivers, no lakes, just desert. My therapist called it a false memory, a mix of dreams and borrowed stories. I nodded. Almost believed it. Then, after a move, I found an old photo in a box. I'm 6, standing by a ravine. Everything looks normal, but in the corner of the frame, there's a shadow. Blurry. On a second look, it's like a figure. No face, just a shape. When I zoomed in, my screen flickered. I turned off my phone. Now, when I fall asleep, I sometimes hear splashing. Quiet, like someone's walking through water. And every spring, when the snow melts, I feel like I remember more. but only when my eyes are closed. I was driving a truck on a route between Reno and Elko. Regular night run, hardly any cars. Radio static, half a thermos of coffee, pushing the speed limit, nothing new. Around 2 a.m., near an abandoned gas station, I saw a woman on the shoulder. White dress, standing still, facing the road. Not waving, not moving, just there. I slowed down. Thought maybe someone's car broke down. But when I stopped and got out, the shoulder was empty. No way a dress like that could vanish. I got back in, checked my rear view, cabin's clear. But the dashboard light flickered. So did the radio. Then I heard it. Don't stop. Quiet, almost inaudible. A woman's voice. Calm. I looked around. Nothing. I drove to the nearest truck stop, checked the cab. No one. But on the floor, there was a strip of fabric. Damp. Smelled like swamp water. The mechanic at the stop looked at me and asked where I saw her. I hadn't said anything, but he nodded. You're not the first. Everyone who stops there hears something after. Just don't go back. I avoid that route now. But sometimes, if something flickers in my rear view, I keep my eyes forward. I don't stop.
I live in a small town in northern Michigan. Narrow streets, sparse street lights, hardly any cars at night. Quiet place. About 6 months ago, I started noticing something odd. Every night, at exactly midnight, everything goes silent. Not just quieter, complete, heavy silence. No ticking clocks, no humming fridge, even the streetlights seem to dim. It lasts exactly 1 minute. Then everything snaps back. I thought I was imagining it. But one night, I recorded it. The audio flatlined from 0000000 to 00102. On the third or fourth night, I couldn't take it. I stepped onto my porch. Everything was frozen. The air felt thick, still. At the end of the street, under the last streetlight, someone was standing. A tall, dark silhouette. No features, just a shape against the faint glow. Not moving, just there. I locked the door. The second I did, the fridge clicked back on, like power surged. I haven't told my neighbors or my mom. I started going to bed before midnight, got an old alarm clock with no hands so I wouldn't know the time. But a couple of times I still woke up. Always at 0000. One morning, I found a handprint on the inside of my front door's glass. Clean, like someone dragged their fingers to peek inside. I used to rent an apartment in a small complex near downtown Portland. Typical 70s building, concrete stairs, shared laundry in the basement. The laundry room had 2 machines, a table, and a bright motion sensor light. I usually washed clothes late at night when no one else was around. A couple of times when I came back for my stuff, my basket had been moved. Not stolen, just shifted a few feet. Once, the washer lid was cracked open, even though I'd closed it tight. I figured someone needed the machine. I left a note. Occupied. Back in 20 minutes. The next night, I found it torn in half. Cleanly, folded and placed back on my basket. I decided to wait out the next load in the room. Set a timer, sat on a folding chair, scrolled my phone. At some point, it got too quiet. The light flickered twice, like always, then went out. The washer stopped. Not finished, not clicked off, just stopped. The light came back, dimmer. In the reflection of the drum, I saw a silhouette. Behind me. I turned. Nobody. Looked back at the machine. The drum was empty. My clothes were gone. A few days later, the building manager called, asked why I'd left my laundry in a dumpster on the lot, neatly folded and tied with black thread. I don't do laundry after dark anymore.
Mid-March, I got a delivery notification. Your order has been delivered. I wasn't expecting anything. Thought it was a mix-up. There was a plain box at my door. No logos, just my address and full name, including my middle name, which I never use. Not even on Amazon. I brought it to the kitchen. Inside was a folded flannel shirt, identical to one I owned 8 years ago. Not just similar, same torn seam inside the sleeve. I threw that shirt out in college. Under it, a flat envelope. Inside, a photo. My window, taken from the street at night. I live on the second floor. In the corner of the picture, a glint, like a streetlight. Or a flash. The file's timestamp, 3:12 a.m., 2 days before the delivery. I called the delivery service. They had no record of the package. The tracking number didn't exist. The next day, another package arrived. Empty, just a note. You threw away what you were supposed to keep. I moved 2 weeks later. I pick up weekend delivery gigs. Always use the same navigator. Offline maps on my phone, no updates. Usually smooth sailing, but about a month ago, things got weird. One order sent me down an unfamiliar route through a neighborhood I'd never seen. Empty streets, cracked asphalt, no cars, no people. The app told me to turn on to Route 8A. Never heard of it, but it was on the screen. I drove 3 miles, no signs, just sparse streetlights and oddly uniform houses. The scenery started feeling looped. Same alley, same white car parked under the same tree. I reset the route. The app froze. The screen went black, then flashed text for a second. Keep driving. I yanked the charger out. The phone overheated, rebooted, and offered a main route back. When I hit the highway, the sun was setting. But I'd turned onto that road at noon. The app didn't save the trip, like it never happened. I searched for Route 8A online. Nothing. A week ago, another order took me near that area. The app started routing me through those empty blocks again. I canceled the delivery. Now, no matter what address I enter, it suggests an alternate route. Always the same one, labeled 8A.
When my roommate left for a week, I had the place to myself. First couple of days, bliss, quiet, clean, free reign. But by Thursday, I started smelling something. Faint, barely there, like old tea or wet wool. I thought it was the bathroom pipes. Checked, nothing. The smell got stronger at night, especially in the hallway by his room. On the third night, I woke up to footsteps in the living room. Not loud, not soft, just normal steps. I thought I dreamed it. But when I checked, a couch cushion was out of place. The TV remote was on the floor. I called him. He was in another state, sent a selfie with his hotel TV on in the background. That same night, I found a mug of tea on the kitchen counter, still warm. The next day, I set up my phone to record. In the morning, the video was mostly silent, but halfway through, there's a kettle whistle, then a quiet male voice. One word, late. I didn't listen again, just deleted it. When my roommate got back, I didn't mention it, but now he leaves his door open at night, and that smell, it still shows up. Every Thursday.
I've got a standard smart home setup, a speaker in the living room, Wi-Fi lights, a thermostat. All synced to one account. Works great. A week ago, I noticed the bedroom light turning on by itself. Always at 3:03 a.m. I thought it was a glitch in the automation, but there were no schedules set for that time. I checked manually. Nothing. I dug into the voice assistant's command history. It logs every phrase it picks up. There was one. Turn on the bedroom light. Timestamp. 3:03 a.m. Male voice. Quiet. Not mine. Next night, same command, same time. I turned off the mic, taped over it even. 2 days later, a new entry showed up. You shouldn't have turned it off. Different voice. Calm, flat, like a bad phone connection. I reset the device, changed my account, set it all up fresh. Last night, at 3:03, the speaker turned on. No network connection. It said, the lights come.
Have you ever experienced something you couldn't explain? A moment that still haunts you to this day? If so, we want to hear it. Share your story in the comments, and maybe we'll tell it in the next episode.